Well, this is a $100 note. And if I was to ask you what colour it is, you'd say green. Caleb wouldn't know because he's never seen a $100
Hey, that's my $100 note. You got that from the Bank of Bond, James.
Let me continue. But if I was to ask you what colour it was, you'd say it was green. But according to Lidia Thorpe, you'd be wrong. You see, she says money can be black money or it can be white money, depending on the colour of the person holding it. And God forbid that black money is ever used to help a white man's organisation, you know, like the police. Seriously, that was the conversation in a Senate Estimates Committee hearing today as Lidia Thorpe traded insults with fellow Indigenous Senator, Labor's Melandiri McCarthy, over whether or not an Indigenous organisation should have provided finances to the police to help with Indigenous community security. Have a listen.
Is black money being used for the Northern Territory Police?
And how dare you, when we have First Nations people working in the police force, you
Are you
act
protecting
as though,
the police?
No, I'm telling you
It's got nothing
that we
to do
also
with
have
that.
First Nations police who are doing their best
it's still police.
to improve the situation
Police are police.
across the
Doesn't
Northern
matter what colour
Territory,
you are.
not just
Police
in
are
Alice
police.
Springs.
Or
So you obviously
Senator
don't.
Thorpe and
Police
want to
are
see
police.
things improve.
$14 million to
You
the
do
police.
not want to see things
Shame on
improve.
you.
No, shame on you.
Shame on you.
You're the one who brings disgrace.
They're the ones killing our
you
people.
bring disgrace not
You
only
tell that
to
to
this
Yindamoo.
Senate, but to your
You
own
tell that to
people.
Yindamoo.
You are an absolute
Senator-
You
disgrace.
tell that to Yindamoo.
You are the
You tell that
disgrace
to Kumanjai
right across
Walker's
this country.
family.
I'm sure it will come as a shock to Lidia Thorpe to discover that Indigenous organisations don't use black money, they use taxpayer money. Liz, whatever happened to we are one and free? Lidia Thorpe continues to try to divide the country.
She does, and I just love how comprehensive that exchange was. It was such a perfect example of Lidia Thorpe in action. But this is unbelievable. She knows very well how everything's funded. Well, you'd hope she would. She is one of very few senators that this country can boast. And there she is, having this all-out punch-up with someone as if she's just discovered it. This is unbelievable. And then when the lady made a very good point in that, hang on a minute, there are Indigenous police, you know, it's as if she's in one of those arguments where you realise someone's just made the ping a point and you're dead in the water, but still doubles down and says, well, they're still police. So you're saying if they're police, they're not Indigenous anymore? What is the point?
Well, they're traitors. They're obviously race traitors if they've signed up to the cops because, you know, they've decided that they want to do something good for the community and they want to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem and they want to help people. Maybe they've seen high levels of violence in Indigenous communities and they want to be part of the solution to get violent men out of those situations and save women. How dare they? That
Police
is disgusting.
are police, Caleb.
It is absolutely disgusting. And while I can, I'm going to get that $100 note back. That's my punting money for the weekend, James. I'm a bit worried you'll take it and I'll never see it back. But I've got to say, look, it's not often I'll defend Lidia Thorpe. She and I and the rest of us on this show are strange bedfellows when it comes to The Voice. But she did make a salient point today about the people that the Labor Party are using to tell them they want The Voice.
Why didn't you put the same effort into the referendum as you say you're going to put into treaty? Like you're kicking the road down on treaty, saying we've got to consult with Aboriginal people, yet you're forcing The Voice down our throat without consulting with Aboriginal people. You're consulting with your hand-picked people.
I don't know about kicking the road down. It would have to be a pretty flimsy road in order to kick it down. But having said that, she's right. The government is using hand-picked people to tell them what they want to hear, which is that we want The Voice. And as we well know, it is impossible to have one homogenous voice for Indigenous people because Indigenous people in this country come from some 400 different tribes. And the fact that Lidia Thorpe, as an Indigenous woman, is opposed to The Voice is proof of that. There's no one way all Indigenous people think. That's where The Voice always falls over because once again, it is quite racist to suggest that all people of a particular race will think the same way.
Well, I mean, the clip we showed earlier proved that exact point as well.
Indeed.
Where you've got two Indigenous politicians arguing over the way Indigenous money should be used. So again, this whole idea of one voice for a lot of people makes no sense. The more Lidia Thorpe speaks, the better the no case goes.
Indeed, they're kicking themselves in the foot there. But the point that I loved that she made in that last point there, and the full clip goes for longer, it's such a pertinent question for the Australian people to be aware of, because what she's saying is, why are you pouring all this effort, all this money, all this liaising with Indigenous people into the voice when the end point is treaty? You're not even talking about treaty yet.
Yes.
And it's like, shush, Lydia, you're letting the cat out of the bag. We've got to get the referendum up, and then whammo, we're just going to foist treaty upon the people because we'll assume that that's what they wanted when they voted for the vibe. I loved it.
Indeed.